Good evening, I'm Camden Cohn, and our sports ticker is brought to you by the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services. Earlier today, the Nebraska women's tennis team fell to 25th-ranked Baylor 5-2. The Huskers fell to 4-1 on the season and will stay in Waco to take on the Denver Pioneers tomorrow. In other Husker news, Nebraska's softball season tickets are now on sale. A season ticket includes admission to all regular season home games on 16 days. General admission, that includes bleacher seating, the berm, and standing room only tickets are $80, and youth or senior general admission tickets are $48. For more information, visit huskers.com. And finally, just one men's basketball game of note tonight in the Big Ten, as 10th-ranked Purdue hosts Indiana for an in-state battle. Tip-off is at 7 and can be watched on Fox. Our sports ticker is brought to you by the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services. Call a timeout if you or someone you know is struggling or in crisis. The 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is there. Call, text, or chat 988. It's free, confidential, and staffed with trained counselors ready to listen and provide support. Hour 1 of Sports Nightly is up next, right here on the Huskers Radio Network.
Coming to you live from Memorial Stadium, it's Sports Nightly. All the Huskers, all the time. Sports Nightly is presented to you by the NDOT Highway Safety Office, who remind you to buckle up and put the phone down.
Andrew playing like a man possessed here, going over 1,000 in his career early on in this game, and the give is to him, and the dunk, and Nebraska's tied the game at 24, and Morgan's got a dozen. A minute 53 to go. Williams on the elbow. Buchton left side. Eulis extra pass. Hoiberg puts it up. Got it! Sammy, my boy! Sammy, my boy, cuts this lead down to 2 points.
Rimdahl, a couple of ball fakes, bounces into Prince at half court. And Prince is going to make a run on a falter. Steps back for 3 to tie the game. You betcha! Biggest shot of that freshman's young career. Timeout. We're tied at 75. Britt Prince is 19. She steps back and sticks a three-pointer, her 5th of the night. Hake going to drive into the lane, stops, pops, 9-footer, front rim, gets her own rebound, backs it out. Prince, right elbow,
Short.
pull-up jumper, rolls, no. Markowski fights for it, gets it out to Petrie. 3-ball on the left wing, you betcha! 4 chances at the basket, and Petrie knocks down a Central Valley egg.
Now that's old school Husker outwork you basketball.
Now, here is your host, Jessica Coody, on the Huskers Radio Network.
Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome into a full 2 hours of Sports Nightly. What a week it's been for Husker Nation, and we're going to recap all of it, talk lots of big news over the last week for Husker Nation. Nick Hanley joining me here tonight, but coming up with the program, we're going to talk John Cook, Danny Busboom Kelly introduced at the men's basketball game last night. Men's basketball picks up a big one, huge win, much needed over number 18 Illinois. So we're going to hear from Andrew Morgan following that win. And the dunk contest, the annual dunk contest for Husker football took place at halftime. It was electric. Heinrich Haarberg is your 2025 champion. We're going to hear from him, and our very own, our fearless and courageous leader, Greg Sharpe, going to check in with us in the 7 o'clock hour. And then, oh, by the way, a week from tonight, we're going to be in action with the ball bat sports, starting with Husker softball opening up their weekend. And then 2 weeks from tonight, Husker baseball. So we're going to get some position previews, talk the pitching staffs for both Husker baseball and Husker softball in hour 2. So lots to come here over the next couple of hours. But we welcome in Nick Hanley joining me here to start the program. Nick, when we signed off on Tuesday night, would you have any idea that things are going to unfold the way that they unfolded on Wednesday?
No, and obviously you got a chance to talk to Troy Dannon on Wednesday about the what we thought was going to be the really exciting news with Greg and having the radio booth dedicated and named after him, which was just amazing and so well earned. So we're thinking, okay, that's going to be that's the headline, and rightfully so. And then within 2-3 hours, we find out the retirement of John Cook, which you think about what he had talked about in his press conference and going out on a high note and all of that. And I know we'll get to that here in a little bit. Just the guy that I always continue to kind of compare to Nick Saban as far as someone who has found a formula, found a recipe, has been able to still interchange coaches as they go on to other programs and lead programs, yet that program and that its excellence and its standard stays the same. And you just get the feeling that if he was ever to step away, there was really only one person that felt right that they were going to be the ultimate fit, and that's Danny Busboom Kelly. And so much of the shock of, man, this is real. But then, okay, quickly, now we're turning our attention to celebrating a just sterling career as a volleyball coach, and now getting excited for the next era of Husker volleyball, all within a 24-hour stretch. So, yeah, as we come to you today, there's been a lot of reflecting, I'm sure, by many Husker fans, volleyball fans, and just Husker athletic fans alike.
Yeah, and Coach Cook's press conference, it was long, and there's so much to take away from it. I actually was texting with Lauren Cook-West because she was mentioned a lot throughout that press conference, and him being able to spend some time with the soon-to-be two grandbabies coming up, and she's going to join us next week and give her perspective on everything. But I know she's excited to be able to, spend some time and share that time with her dad. But she said, I have not stopped crying. And, it was emotional, and you could feel it, but then you also laughed, you cried. It was just, what a press conference. Only John Cook could do a press conference like that. So we wanted to go back and revisit a couple of the highlights for us. And really, it starts in his opening statement, and just you could feel the emotion of him standing up there and addressing his decision to retire.
I got to start off by first, I've been thinking about this sharing this with you because I always have to have something for Tom Chattel. And Neil Young, I think, is one of the greatest musicians ever. And there's a song that I've listened to for 30 years from him. And he talks about it's better to burn out than fade out. Like I said, I haven't been through this before. But I've always approached that I was going to go as hard as I could. And when the day came and I felt like I've done enough, and that's what happened last week. And my daughter's having another baby. That's also part of it. And I've missed a lot with my kids. Sorry. But I want to be there for those grandkids.
And Jessica, this is the thing that I think we've learned, and we've really had a chance. I feel great in having this, and I'm sure a lot of Nebraska fans would agree with this too, is we've had a chance in the last, I would say, 5 years to really see all sides of John Cook, the intense coach, the game planner, the leader of a successful collegiate athletic program, but also the father, the grandfather,
the cowboy,
the cowboy. I mean, everything that he has really let everybody in on, and that's why I go back to that comparison to Nick Saban. You can tell, I think, when you get these laser-focused coaches that have experienced so much success. And anybody close to them would say, what they're showing the public is what they've been to us all their lives, but now they're letting everybody in on that. I remember when Nick Saban was the same way, where all of a sudden you could tell he was enjoying it a lot more. Every win, he seemed to really kind of let his hair down a little bit more, and he would joke a little bit more. He would smile a lot more. He would make jokes and not, point fingers anymore. And, John Cook, I think there's always been a quality about John, even going back to 10, 15 years, where he was always very fair with the media. He was always very good with everyone. He always embraced the Husker Nation. But you got to see more layers of him these last few years. And that's when I myself found myself wondering, I wonder if we're getting close. Because I always feel like some of those great coaches that do that, they're really soaking everything in, because it's almost like in their head, whether they have had those conversations with their loved ones or not, that they kind of see that, all right, I think I'm getting towards the end of this. And you could tell right away. not that anybody ever doubted it, but the emotion that he showed in that clip right there too. But also, again, there's the layer of we know John Cook when he had Lauren on his team as the father. Now we get to see him with that relationship off the court, but now as a grandfather, and how much that meant to him and how much that means to this decision too, and when going forward.
Yeah, it's funny because, had a chance to talk with a few of his former players along the way, and a lot of them, Lauren included, have talked about how much he's changed. And that's, again, a kudos to Coach Cook, who started off and took over a program and then maintained that excellence and won national titles, and then realized that he needed to change with the athlete. And so he did that along the way. And so he was a different coach at the end than he was at the beginning in terms of just how he interacts with players and, just a lot of the personal stuff and building those relationships. And you could tell by the end he really enjoyed that, and he just got so close with his players. Harper Murray, that story is very well documented. So, and it was cool to see Harper there last night at the men's basketball game. They had a hug after he was announced. But I agree with your sentiments there. Okay, so Danny Busboom Kelly played here, then coached with Coach Cook, and Coach Cook had the perspective of when she decided to get into coaching, his advice to her.
For Danny, she's done one of the greatest turnarounds in the history of college volleyball. 8 years, she's been to 3 Final Fours, played for 2 national championships, in a program that was a mess. And the fact that she coached here, and I don't know if you guys know this, but she also played here, won a national championship. And when she said she wanted to go into coaching, I said, Danny, you got to go away from here. And she went to some tough programs, Louisville, Tennessee. I can't remember, there's one other one. And then she came back here to coach, and we won another national championship. And then she's gone on to Louisville. She bleeds Husker.
And this is why I say, and I think many people agreed, that there was only real one choice when this succession plan was put in place, and that it had to be Danny Busboom Kelly, because quite frankly, like Coach Cook mentions right there, the turnaround at Louisville and what she was able to get that program. People in a very basketball and football rich community at Louisville, getting them excited for volleyball, which they have a great following now, and that was never the case. So not only did she work on Coach Cook's staff, played for Coach Cook, understands that system and how to be successful, but also how to get people behind it. And now you take all of that and you plug that right into Nebraska, which I don't think there's going to be any hiccups whatsoever. But the other thing that maybe this is getting some run out in Louisville, maybe not, she left that position in such a much better place that the Louisville volleyball position, the Louisville volleyball head coaching position, would now be a coveted one. You couldn't say that before, too. So that's credit to Danny Busboom Kelly as well.
Yeah, and, Coach Cook had told her, I guess it wasn't in that clip, but just that he had given her some advice. Hey, you want to come back and be the head coach here? Because they had talked about that, and he had kind of given her some advice, go on and come back. And so I definitely think her time at Louisville absolutely played into that decision, the no-brainer decision to bring her back and replace him. Okay, last one we got for you that we wanted to revisit was he had this fantastic story on when Danny was playing for him and a position switch in her senior season. Take a listen.
I also want to tell you, when you interview Danny, a story I told the team yesterday. Danny was from Adams Central or Adams Freeman, and she was the first girl I ever saw that could do a fadeaway jump shot in basketball. I was watching state tournament, recruiting her. She's doing jump shots. And I'm thinking, wow, this is an athlete. So we tried to make her a setter because she was a softball pitcher, so she didn't have very good arm swing to hit. And great softball pitcher. She was thinking about playing softball in college. And so we recruited her as a setter, and for 3 years she set. In 2005, we set for the played for the national championship. She was a setter in a 6-2 system, and we lost to Washington. And I knew we had to make a change and go back to a 5-1. So I called her in January, And I brought her in the office, and I said, Danny, we're going to move you to libero. She looked at me. She said, I don't know if it's an adjective. Amy helped me out, adjective, pronoun, noun, but it was kind of like started with an F and a Y, and left my office. I didn't see her for 3 days. I finally called her mom on the third day. And I said, Bonnie, had a bad meeting with Danny. She wasn't happy. I don't know where she is. I haven't seen her. Nobody's talked to her. She goes, she'll be in your office later today. So I'm thinking she's coming in to quit. And again, there's no portal back then, so you didn't worry so much about transferring. And she comes in with a letter. And this letter talked about she was going to do everything possible to help that team, whatever role that she was asked to do, she would do it. And that team elected her captain, and we won. 1 year she played libero. She ended up playing great. We won the national championship. And she was a great leader. And that's when I knew she would be a great coach. So sometimes as coaches, we learn those lessons, and we got to go through them as players. And so she's paid her dues, and she understands what it takes, and that's why she's been so successful.
And that a fantastic story, but also this is another reason where you think about the player-coach relationship and her going through what would have been considered a hardship and changing positions, wondering where she fits in on a championship-level program, and then decides, hey, I'm about the team. I'm about doing whatever I have to do to be a cog in that. And so it does. Those are the ingredients that I'm sure as a coach, or even when you hear that story, you're like, okay, this makes a lot of sense on why that person was able to seek out a career in coaching, because when you have that mindset and you're able to put, as we always say, you put the selfish personal interest things aside, and you do it when you know your presence is, your presence is a part of it, but your presence is also not bigger than the team. And clearly in a moment of adversity, as any student athlete would go through, she chose the team. And I just thought that was such a cool story to hear about it. And I'm sure there's, between then and her time all the way to her last match in the national championship against with Louisville as the head coach with Louisville, I'm sure there's some great stories and some great reminders on why she will be successful at Nebraska. But I thought that was a fantastic, just gives you an idea. And the emotion, again, from Coach Cook tells you all you need to know about how truly passionate he is about this program, but also the fact that Danny Busby-Kelly will be the successor. Yeah,
throughout that entire press conference, you were reminded over and over again, and you just got such a sense of how much respect he has for Danny Busby-Kelly, how much admiration and really belief now moving forward, and just how much that even has changed from coaching her to being a colleague to now handing the reins over to her. There's no doubt that Coach Cook is as big a fan of DBK as anybody. So much more to come with Danny Busby-Kelly. It was cool to see her and hear the crowd reaction to both her and Coach Cook being introduced at the men's basketball game last night. She'll have the big welcome coming up on Thursday. So we're hoping to chat with her here on the program coming up here in the next week or so. So exciting times. All right, we have got to get to a break. On the other side of this, we're going to talk on that big win for Nebraska men's basketball, taking out number 18 Illinois in overtime. Keep it here. And we're also going to hear from Andrew Morgan. Woodhouse has been a trusted partner in your everyday since 1975. Shop for your next vehicle with the home team at Woodhouse and the official auto dealer of Nebraska Athletics.
Want to boost Nebraska's economy and help the planet? It's as easy as filling up your tank. Switch to soy-based biodiesel to cut greenhouse gases by up to 74% and support biodiesel growth.
I'm Greg Anderson, a farmer near Newman Grove, Nebraska, and biodiesel has transformed our farm. It cuts emissions, raises the cetane number, and improves fuel lubricity.
So ask for biodiesel where you fill up. It benefits our air, economy, and Nebraska soybean farmers. Nebraska soybeans, feeding, fueling, and innovating for the future.
They say consistency is the key to success. They weren't wrong. So how about grabbing a beer that's consistently smooth, consistently refreshing, and consistently light? You might just find that the road to success can be pretty enjoyable. Michelob Ultra, The perfect balance of taste and refreshment, and only 2.6 carbs and 95 calories. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
Hey Huskers, it's a new day in Nebraska. Manzer Equipment, Mertz Farm Equipment, and West Point Implement of Columbus have teamed up as True Ag and Turf. Coach Rule is bringing innovation and high-performance standards to Husker football, and True Ag is doing the same to your farm with game-changing Fendt equipment. As Big Red establishes power on the field, True Ag and Turf does the same in the field by welcoming Fendt to Nebraska.
For 48 straight years, Ford F-Series have been the best-selling trucks in America. We got here by engineering breakthrough technology, redefining Built Ford Tough, and never settling for second best. But what's really made Ford F-Series the #1 selling trucks in America is you. Ford F-Series, Built Ford Tough. Based on 1977 to 2024 calendar year total sales.
Set. Hike. When champions take the field, they come ready to play. TNL Irrigation understands the value of momentum. Like a Husker drive, there's no stopping. If you live for farming and football like we do, TNL Irrigation has you covered. Check your fields from the game with a remote system, or just enjoy the play knowing our systems are reliable as a sold-out Memorial Stadium. Touchdown! Nebraska born, Nebraska strong. Husker Nation and TNL Irrigation are like no other.
On game day, every play counts. Now imagine having the same level of control in your field. Valley is where farming meets end zone efficiency. With AgSense remote irrigation technology, farmers become the MVPs of their fields. Real-time play-by-play control means you're always ahead of the game. Score big with simplified irrigation technology from Valley, improving your life both on and off the field. Find your local Valley dealer at valleyirrigation.com.
What does it mean to be locally owned and operated? For Cenex, it means everything. It means that we know if you take your coffee to go or if you like to stay a while. It means we've helped Little Leagues get jerseys and local festivals get funding. It means we know what our communities need. So you'll always leave Cenex with a full tank, full of snacks, or full of smiles. Or all of the above. And that means the world to us. Cenex, powered locally.
For farmers, sustainability is a way of life. 97% of farms are family-owned, and 95% are participating in conservation programs and using sustainable practices.
I'm Ann Meese, a farmer near Elgin, Nebraska. I grew up on this land, and we're dedicated to being good stewards and leaving it better for the next generation.
Since 1980, U.S. soybean farmers have boosted production by 130%, all while lowering emissions and improving land and water use. Nebraska soybeans, feeding, fueling, and innovating for the future.
Here with Andrew Morgan. Well, how did that one feel? How much did you guys want that one tonight?
We needed that one really bad. We wanted it ever since we got back into practice on whatever day it was, a couple days ago. And we knew we got to lock in at home, and we got if we're going to get something right, we're going to get right at home. And we had two really, really good practices leading into this. And honestly, coming into the game, we felt the best we have in 3 weeks. So it feels really good.
You guys have been in some close battles. What was the difference in this one tonight?
I think guys just wanted it. It was just guys just wanted it more. Guys were just so determined to get this one tonight. We started off good in both started the halves. Second half started out a tiny bit slower, but guys were diving on the floor. Guys were making all the plays and making the hustle plays. They're the best rebounding team in the country, as you could tell. But guys just wanted it just as bad as anybody else. So I think we wanted it for what we've been through the past couple weeks, and it showed.
You guys get the stop in overtime. To go to overtime? What was the message going into overtime?
Here we go. We knew if we got the ball, we were going to be right back into a spot where we could put this game away. We had no doubt in our mind, as long as we got that stop, we would be rolling right back into the overtime. We knew we could go on a run, so we felt really good going into it.
Juwan Gary, just the offensive rebound, the block. When you talk about making some of those plays, how huge was that for you guys down the stretch? Oh,
Juwan's our energy guy. When he's hyped up, he gets everybody going. So when he does stuff like that, he gets everybody more locked in. And then throughout this week, he's been kind of our messenger and our voice. So he's really helped us as well. So Juwan's just, when he does something great, it just makes everybody happy. It makes everybody play better.
Describe Bryce Williams and how he took over overtime.
Bryce Williams was just Bryce Williams. I mean, he was just flat out what we know he is. He's a great player. He's so smart when it comes into situations like that. He didn't lose his temper. He was calm as could be the entire time, and it's so fun to play with somebody like that because they know it. You know you're going to be all right.
How important was it for him to get going in that first half to get you guys off to that lead and again just off to a good start?
That was definitely an emphasis that we had, was start the game fast. But it started out good for us. We built up a little bit of a lead, which also helped our confidence as well for what we've been harping on all week. And honestly, as we got going, we knew we were like, all right, we're back. We felt like we were back to where we were earlier in the year. So it felt really good to get a good hot start and then kind of just play our ball and not have to play catch up.
You guys scored a lot off of turnovers, and I know that was one thing that Coach Haarberg had to emphasize, making the offense from the defense. How important was that for you guys tonight, too?
I mean, we knew it was all going to start with defense. I mean, that was our identity. Like what we talked about again this week was we needed to get our identity back, and what was that? To start the year, it was defense. So when we started off, we were like, we don't care what we get on offense, just get stops. And then we started to get fast break opportunities in the first half, and it showed. And, I mean, it was just – we felt really good there.
How'd you guys stay together? I know this is a tough time, and nobody wants it more than the guys in this locker room. So how did you guys keep it together during this tough stretch?
I mean, honestly, it was just a lot of grown-up conversations. A lot of guys that just came forward. We have a lot of leaders on this team. A lot of guys that just stepped forward and just were like, we just laid it all out there. We were like, this is most of the guys last year. Like, do you really want to have this happen in your last year? So we had a lot of maturity go on, and a lot of guys with tough conversations, but stuff had to be said, and we think we've hit a little bit of it.
One game at a time, right, from here on out?
Yes, ma'am. Yes. One game.
How good was the crowd tonight?
The crowd was amazing. It's everything we need. That helped us as much as anything else as well, because just as soon as we got the crowd back into it, we knew that all the work we've been grinding for the past 2 days as well was starting to come to fruition.
Appreciate your time. Oh. Thank you.
Yeah.
Again, that was Andrew Morgan following the big win for Nebraska basketball. Welcome back to Sports Nightly. Jessica Coody here with Nick Hanley, and knocking off number 18, Illinois, in overtime. And, you know, it was one of those things where this has been a situation this team has been in over this 6-game losing streak. But yet the difference was they made those winning plays that they had to make to be able to win this one. So huge win. And despite a big relief, you know, I know there was a huge sigh of relief. They know that the job's not done yet. They still got a lot of work to do.
No question. I think last night it was great to celebrate that. It was great to breathe that sigh of relief and say, okay, finally you're off the schneid. You snap that 6-game losing streak. And I was looking at bracketology today, and Joe Lenardi's got him at the last 4 out. But that we talked about this earlier in the week, Jessica. They needed to experience some sort of success. You know, it didn't matter who they're playing. It didn't matter if it was a ranked team. It didn't matter if it's the worst team in the Big Ten. You just needed to experience success and just have that feeling of it. And I love the fact that this thing did go to overtime. I love the fact that at one point, Nebraska had a double-digit lead, and the fact that Illinois tied it up, because then you get into those moments, if you're Fred Hoiberg, thinking, okay, how are our guys, a veteran group, mind you, how are they going to handle the here we go again moment of you had that lead, very similar to Iowa. This was very similar to Iowa as far as all of a sudden that lead evaporates. Illinois, on paper, from a talent standpoint, albeit younger talent, but talent standpoint, probably considered to be better than Nebraska collectively. You're thinking, okay, that's just going to, they've tied it up. They kind of messed around. They've missed a lot of shots, and now they're going to get it done. It's going to be one of those kind of ugly wins on the road, but they'll get it done. Big credit, first of all, as you guys mentioned, Bryce Williams, as you were talking to Andrew Morgan. Bryce Williams, he took over in the overtime period, and that's what you need out of him. But also, there were little things at the end of the game that could have given Illinois the lead, where this thing doesn't go to overtime, or in overtime being able to shut down a possession. Some key rebounds by Juwan Gary there at the end, too. Like, there's a lot of little things that happened, I think, in the last 5 minutes of regulation and also in that overtime period that you're not going to look at the stats and say, boy, this was a great game by Nebraska, because nothing about the stats other than one number, and that was only 6 turnovers, which was fantastic. They took care of the basketball. There's a lot of things other than the free throw line that you're going to look and say, boy, 5 of 20 shooting beyond the arc. It's not your best night. 31 of 78 from the field, not your best night. But when you can beat a quality team not playing your best basketball, that's a huge boost right there.
Yeah, finding a way to win. And there's, you talk about being on the bubble, and that will obviously change a lot over the next few weeks with a lot of teams across the country. But there's still some big opportunities for this team to continue to move up and, build that resume, and which, if you look at it, already a pretty solid resume. But, there's still a lot to play for. And that's what Coach Haarberg did the TV show with him today. And he talked about that the team, it wasn't just an overly, they were relieved, yes, but it wasn't an overly celebratory locker room, because they know they got to move on to the next. And it's got to, Sam Haarberg had mentioned last week about they've got to look at each game being a championship type game or a playoff type game, because they've got to win a bunch of games here to continue to do, or hopefully have a chance to do what they set out to do at the beginning of the season, and what a couple of those guys came back to do. But I did also want to give a huge shout out, congratulations for another win for Amy Williams and Husker women's basketball, another one on the road. And that Purdue team, even though they haven't won a Big Ten game, that it's a tough place to play, and they've continue to keep it rolling, bounce back off I know that they were disappointed following the loss to Ohio State, but hey, still one on the road. That's what they talk about. Protect the home court, still one on the road. They got a big one on the road.
Yeah, and you've got a desperate team in Purdue. They haven't had a lot of success. They need to find something in the Big Ten to feel good about themselves. And this was a game where you could kind of tell that someone is going to have to take over. And because once Purdue took the lead, I think it was late in the second quarter, they were Nebraska up until that point was keeping them at arm's length, and it just seemed like Nebraska's the better team, and they looked like it up until maybe the end of the second quarter. Then you see Purdue taking the lead. Once Nebraska's able to regain it, in that moment you're feeling, okay, you've taken Purdue out of it. They put up a good fight, and that's it. But they were still hitting some big threes, and that's where I look at what Britt Prince was able to do down the stretch. And this is we still got quite a bit of basketball to play, and watching her as a freshman and how she is taking over and what she did in the fourth quarter and taking over as well. I mean, you're going to see. We expect that out of Alexis Markowski. We expect her to be a force, and she was inside. But to see Britt Prince be able to create, be able to get to the foul line as well, be able to get some and ones, just creating that offense, especially in a game where you're taking an opponent's desperation's best punch type of feel. And Purdue was feeling themselves there for a while too. I thought that was a character win more than anything for that Nebraska women's basketball team going on the road, as you mentioned, not the easiest place to play. And I just think there's always something about when you got a team that is just absolutely desperate. They're throwing so many things at you, and then they started seeing some shots falling for them there in the second and the third quarter. Nebraska kept their composure. Britt Prince takes over in the fourth, and you get a much needed road victory.
They're actually staying on the road because they're at Indiana on Sunday. So they just run straight from Purdue to Indiana instead of flying back here and then flying to Indiana. So another big opportunity on the road. Indiana's, again, another one of those women's basketball teams that you hear in the mix every single year, and it's another tough place to play. They also are very big supporters of their women's basketball team. So big opportunity coming up on Sunday, and Matt Coatney, Jeff Grease will be on the call for you there. We got another doubleheader. At least they're spaced out a little bit on Sunday with Husker women playing a little bit earlier than the men playing at Oregon. But another big day coming up. Husker hoops both on the road on Sunday. So we got to get to another break here on Sports Nightly. On the other side of this, we're going to talk about that Husker football dunk contest, and I had a chance to chat with the winner, Heinrich Haarberg, so keep it here. Woodhouse has been a trusted partner in your everyday since 1975. Shop for your next vehicle with the home team at Woodhouse and the official auto dealer of Nebraska Athletics.
For 48 straight years, Ford F-Series have been the best-selling trucks in America. We got here by engineering breakthrough technology, redefining built Ford tough, and never settling for second best. But what's really made Ford F-Series the #1 selling trucks in America is you. Ford F-Series, built Ford tough. Based on 1977 to 2024 calendar year total sales.
They say consistency is the key to success. They weren't wrong. So how about grabbing a beer that's consistently smooth, consistently refreshing, and consistently light? You might just find that the road to success can be pretty enjoyable. Michelob Ultra, the perfect balance of taste and refreshment, and only 2.6 carbs and 95 calories. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
Nebraska soybeans power everyday products, from Goodyear tires and Skechers shoes to soy-based turf and fire suppressants. These innovations replace petroleum and utilize other components of the soybean, leading to more sustainable products worldwide.
I'm Doug Sadoff, a farmer near Trumbull, Nebraska. Thanks to cutting-edge research, soybeans are now in everything from tires to turf. It's amazing to see how these advancements are unlocking new potential for our crops.
Soybeans are a win for every product and everyone. Nebraska soybeans, feeding, fueling, and innovating for the future.
For 48 straight years, Ford F-Series have been the best-selling trucks in America. We got here by engineering breakthrough technology, redefining built Ford tough, and never settling for second best. But what's really made Ford F-Series the #1 selling trucks in America is you. Ford F-Series, built Ford tough. Based on 1977 to 2024 calendar year total sales.
Husker fans, it's game day, and Pizza Hut's got your perfect play. Score the game day special for just $29.99. Get 2 medium 3-topping pizzas, 8 boneless wings, and 5 breadsticks. Enough to feed 8 hungry fans. Pizza, wings, breadsticks, and more. It's the ultimate lineup to fuel your game day. Check out the full menu online at pizzahut.com or in store. Because remember, no one out-pizzas the Hut.
Set, hike. When champions take the field, they come ready to play. TNL Irrigation understands the value of momentum. Like a Husker drive, there's no stopping. If you live for farming and football like we do, TNL Irrigation has you covered. Check your fields from the game with a remote system, or just enjoy the play knowing our systems are reliable as a sold-out Memorial Stadium. Touchdown! Nebraska born, Nebraska strong. Husker Nation and TNL Irrigation are like no other.
When you're in the stands and have the ability to control your irrigation in the field, it's a game-changing moment. Valley is where farming meets end zone efficiency. With AgSense remote irrigation technology, farmers become the MVPs of their fields. Experience real-time, play-by-play action and control that keeps you ahead. Score big with irrigation technology from Valley. It's technology that improves your life and lets you be at the game and in the game. Find your local Valley dealer at valleyirrigation.com.
They say consistency is the key to success. They weren't wrong. So how about grabbing a beer that's consistently smooth, consistently refreshing, and consistently light? You might just find that the road to success can be pretty enjoyable. Michelob Ultra, the perfect balance of taste and refreshment, and only 2.6 carbs and 95 calories. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
The Huskers Radio Network Broadcast Center is sponsored by Akrs, the Midwest premier John Deere dealer, supplying the equipment and service to advance agriculture and much more. Akrs solutions for every field. Nick Hanley, Jessica Coody here with you on this Friday night show of Sports Nightly. Well, last night, it was absolutely electric inside Pinnacle Bank Arena. There was a lot going on. They obviously introduced Coach Cook and Danny Busboom Kelly. And then at halftime, everybody's favorite halftime act, the Husker football dunk contest. And it was a lot better than last year, I thought. But it was electric in there. The crowd was into it. And I'm not sure, obviously we all know that Heinrich Haarberg is a big-time athlete. We've heard Coach Rule talk about it, but Jeremiah Charles was the reigning champ, and had he actually thrown down the dunk that he was doing in the final round, I think he probably would have gone back-to-back, but Heinrich Haarberg is your 2025 dunk champion. Were you surprised by that, Nick?
A little bit, because, if you think about just his overall, we were talking about this off the air. The guy is a freak athlete, but some of the dunks that Jeremiah Charles was throwing down, that was absolutely insane too. And I do wonder though also if would it have gone a bit even further? It would have just completely put an exclamation point on the victory if Dylan Raiola does complete the pass to Heinrich Haarberg when he's going up for the dunk, because they tried that twice? Was that right?
Yeah, and actually Heinrich was waving him off. They did it by crowd applause, right? And okay. Heinrich did have the third part of the three biggest applauses, but he's like kind of saying no, I'm not advancing for that. He's actually like shaking him off. But he did have, the loudest cheer, one of the three loudest cheers, so he got to move on. But yeah, they had practiced that one, but couldn't get it to connect. Yeah. I actually had asked Dylan before, not knowing that they had this planned, said, who you got? And he goes, Heinrich, no doubt. So wow, okay. I think they felt pretty confident going into it. They just couldn't connect on the once the lights came on and when it counted.
I was so impressed with Emmett Johnson though too, because out of all of those guys in the dunk contest, he, as far as height wise, like his spring is impressive. Because when he did the one basically like with a static start, I mean he was almost flat-footed when he went up and windmilled that one. He barely got it, but I mean he didn't even take really any type of running jump for that one too. So Emmett Johnson was impressive too. The Heinrich Haarberg, though, the one where he throws it off the backboard, ultimately wins with that one and does the windmill, that was impressive. So, I mean, hey, you just more than anything when these guys come down and then they take those next couple of steps as they're celebrating a little bit. Aren't we all kind of holding our breath a little bit too? They're like, making sure you just don't hurt yourself, buddy. Just please don't. Which,
by the way, Heinrich did not, as you will hear, he did not know he was going to do that dunk. So afterwards, I got a chance to chat with the champ, Heinrich Haarberg. 2025 dunk champion, Heinrich Haarberg. How did that feel out there?
Oh, I mean, it was a great show. I don't know if I should have been in the finals there, so I knew I had to come up with something that would redeem me a little bit. But it was awesome. This is always awesome to come out and be in front of all these fans again. Yeah.
Played a lot of basketball in your life. How does it feel to get back out on the basketball court to have this kind of opportunity?
I mean, it's cool. I never thought I would ever be dunking a basketball on Pinnacle Bank Arena court. But it's a cool experience. Came to a lot of basketball games as a kid here, so never thought I'd be able to have the opportunity to do that.
You did it last year. What went into the game plan this year?
Well, I was hoping to get that dunk down with Dylan. We'd worked on that a lot, but just didn't happen tonight, but that's all right. We're going to connect with that one in the fall.
Dylan, absolutely. Dylan actually picked you to win it. I asked him beforehand. He said, hands down, Heinrich's got it. He had a lot of faith in you.
Yeah, I mean, I hope he does. Hopefully that carries into next fall as well.
Just his fan base, the crowd, the way they reacted for you guys tonight. How does that feel for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of what, I talked a little bit about it when, we had the opportunity to come out here at the 8-minute timeout, and we were honored. And, their support for us, not only on Saturdays, but every day we put on the end it's unmatched. And it's really a big reason for why a lot of guys want to come here.
What does he say about Coach Rule, the staff, that he let you guys do this? And 2 years in a row now.
He put a lot of trust in us, but I didn't see him here tonight, so I don't know what that's all about. We need to have him here next time.
Just allowing you guys to have this kind of fun with these kind of opportunities. What does that mean to you guys?
Yeah, I mean, letting us out of the box a little bit, and we don't get to, we get to show off a little bit of what we do every day. We get to show it off not only in the fall, so it's cool.
Last thing, did you practice it all going into this one?
I didn't practice that last dunk at all. I don't know where that one came from, but it's really cool.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's also big for recruiting because it was all over social media. The Big Ten clipped it off, put it on their social medias. I mean, it's a fun... This is a grind type of time in January and into February where they're in the weight room a ton. We actually were eating at the training table yesterday and heard from a couple of the guys that they had a really, really heavy leg day, which didn't make it easier to pull off those dunks either. But, it's a tough time. But this is kind of a fun break in that. But then also, also the optics of it of people picking it up on social media, and you cannot deny that it's also a boost in recruiting as well when you see that kind of stuff.
Yeah, because as he talked about, it lets them have a little bit of fun with the things that they like to do outside of football, and this is great engagement with the fans as well. I mean, a lot of these people that are watching that basketball game last night are also packing into Memorial Stadium to watch these guys on Saturday. So it's cool. You know, we were talking about this earlier with John Cook. You know, you get to see more personality from John Cook, and you get to see more layers from him. This is a chance for these fans also to see what these guys are all about, kind of letting their hair down and having some fun. You know, while the basketball team is trying to put on the show that night. So, yeah, this is the one thing, though, there at the end of your conversation with Heinrich was the fact that he did not practice that last one, and it looked like that. My gosh. And I was telling you this during the break, and I think there's a lot of people that are really interested to see what he's going to be next year at that tight end position because of that athleticism that you saw on display last night. I'm saying dunking a basketball is going to lead to 60 receptions and 500 or 600 yards of receiving, but with his speed, his size, you were mentioning he looks even bigger than what he was when he ended the season. There's a lot of excitement about what he could potentially do at that position, at that tight end position, given just that type of athleticism, that type of speed, that size that is just so hard to replicate anywhere else.
All right, let's get to our final break. When we come back, we're going to wrap up hour number 1. Keep it here on Sports Nightly.
Huskers fans, let's call a timeout on the court and in life. When the game gets tough, Nebraska stands together as a family, as a team. If you or someone you know is struggling or in crisis, the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is there. Call, text, or chat 988. It's free, confidential, and staffed with trained counselors ready to listen and provide support. You're part of the Husker family, and every member is valued on and off the court. Remember, in times of need, call a timeout. Call, text, or chat 988. Presented by Nebraska DHHS.
Husker fans, Nebraska baseball is back and better than ever. Fresh off their first Big Ten tournament championship and ranked 24th in the nation, the Huskers are ready to bring the heat this season at Hawks Field. Season tickets are on sale now and start at just $150 for general admission and $225 for reserve. Get your tickets today and don't miss any of the action at Haymarket Park. Visit Huskers.com/tickets or call 1-800-8-BIG-RED to secure your seat today.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
If there's one thing Nebraska's known for, it's our beef. And Nebraska soybeans feed a lot of them, and even more pigs and chickens.
I'm Jason Pinky, a farmer near Craig, Nebraska. Soybeans are vital for feeding our livestock, and they're also a powerhouse protein source for people worldwide. Our world needs protein, and Nebraska soybeans are making a difference.
From tailgate grills to global plates, farmers deliver affordable, nutritious protein to build muscle and energy for everyone. Nebraska soybeans, feeding, fueling, and innovating for the future.
On game day, every play counts. Now imagine having the same level of control in your field. Valley is where farming meets end zone efficiency. With AgSense remote irrigation technology, farmers become the MVPs of their fields. Real-time, play-by-play control means you're always ahead of the game. Score big with simplified irrigation technology from Valley, improving your life both on and off the field. Find your local Valley dealer at valleyirrigation.com.
Chick-fil-A South Point Pavilions and Chick-fil-A 48th and O are proud to once again present Salute to Service at Nebraska basketball home games for the 2024-25 season. A recipient will be selected for each home game and will receive 2 game tickets, parking pass, VIP pregame meal, Chick-fil-A honor coin, and honored on the court during the game. Thank you for your assistance in honoring our veterans. Nominate your veteran at huskers.com/salute to service. Final segment here of hour number 1 of Sports Nightly. I did want to pick back up. We were talking about Heinrich Haarberg before the break and his move to tight end. And there's no doubt there's already that connection there between Dylan and Heinrich because of the time that they've spent together. And that went back to the bowl practices. I had a conversation with Marcus Satterfield right before the night before the game. And he said he had mentioned that there was already that connection between the two, and that they would be breaking down film in practice, and why'd you throw the ball there? And Dylan's like, I like throwing the ball to him. So they like each other, and then now it's just cool that now it's just such a weird, I guess, dynamic when you're competing for the starting quarterback job, but then it takes both of you, right? It takes everybody in that room to be able to get through a season. But now that he's going to be the guy that he wants to throw the ball to. He very well could be one of his favorite guys to throw the target. Again, Dana Holgorsen said that connection was there and very apparent already in both practices. Now it'll be the big thing's going to be can he learn how to block like a Big Ten tight end.
I don't even know if that's going to be the toughest thing for him. I think he's always had that physical nature. The way that he would run the ball when he was playing quarterback, I think he welcomes contact. Now, to your point, obviously, running into defenders and trying to contain defenders, and keeping them within your frame of blocking is two different things. But I think he welcomes that kind of physicality. I think it's going to be fascinating for him to play that position in the mind of a quarterback too. And I think that's probably why that chemistry is going to be a lot quicker than any other person that was making a position change. I think that ability to not only connect with your quarterback because you've been working together at that position for a year, but now also, knowing the adjustments too, that if a route is breaking down or if they have it defended, you have that ability to improvise and your quarterback and yourself are going to be on the same page. There's just a lot of things that make his position switch, I think, so intriguing outside of his overall physical ability. But that quarterback mindset now shifting over to tight end, I think, is obviously going to behoove this offense, especially Dylan Raiola, because I think they know what the other one is thinking when it does come to that position where they need to be. It could be special. I have no problem saying that because of how quick he is, how big he is and physical. This could be something to definitely circle when we get to spring on how that is evolving. And then the weapons around, we've already talked about the wide receivers, where Heinrich Haarberg could, as far as not maybe getting as much attention from defenders, how that could also be huge, especially in the red zone.
Well, and he's just so well liked in the locker room too, and this coaching staff. I feel like they're going to give him some opportunities, and we've seen his athleticism even before he even made the switch to tight end. Remember, he caught a pass in the first game of the season last year against Minnesota. He comes in, he's capable of doing so many different things. And I go back to a quarterback that when I was at Oklahoma made the switch, played a long time in the NFL, and Blake Bell made the switch to tight end. But I feel like, he's got the tools, and it was talked about last year, but they needed a backup quarterback with some experience, and he did his role, and he wants to play. He's a competitor. And so now I think they're going to reward him with some opportunities, and I think Dylan will reward him as well.
Yeah, with both of those guys. And, the combination of him where there's not going to be a lot of tape on him, and then Carter Nelson, who also doesn't have a lot of tape on him collectively. Those are two extremely rare athletes playing the position. We'll see if Carter's is more of a hybrid like it was last year too. But adding another athlete that is got plenty of size and is only going to get bigger, and you look at that tight end room, it's got some explosiveness in it too. So I don't want to overhype that expectation because, again, you're still making a position switch. So I think those expectations need to be a little bit more measured. But the potential is definitely there for him to be a big playmaking tight end.
Absolutely. All right, well, that wraps up hour number one, but a big second hour coming up. We're going to hear from our fearless leader, Greg Sharpe, coming up on the top of the 7 o'clock hour. Nick's going to rejoin us to break down the Husker baseball pitching staff that will be in action coming up 2 weeks from tonight. And Nate Rohr will break down what he says is the potentially deepest pitching staff that Rhonda Revelle has ever had here at Nebraska. So lots of good stuff here to come, and our winners and losers for the week. So big second hour of Sports Nightly coming up. Keep it here on our Friday night edition of Sports Nightly.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
What does it mean to be locally owned and operated? For Cenex, it means everything. It means that we know if you take your coffee to go or if you like to stay a while. It means we've helped Little Leagues get jerseys and local festivals get funding. It means we know what our communities need. So you'll always leave Cenex with a full tank, full of snacks, or full of smiles. Or all of the above. And that means the world to us. Cenex, powered locally.
Attention, Husker Nation. Are you ready to power up your game? Sap Brothers high-quality off-road red diesel is the fuel that powers your equipment. As official sponsors of the Huskers, we're here with a winning offer with the Sap Brothers Go Big Red Fuel Giveaway. Contract your upcoming fuel needs by February 1st and enter to win 1,000 free gallons of our off-road red diesel to keep your engine roaring and equipment running strong. Sap Brothers fuels Husker Nation. Visit sapbros.net/fuel giveaway for more info.
Husker fans, it's game day, and Pizza Hut's got your perfect play. Score the game day special for just $29.99. Get 2 medium 3-topping pizzas, 8 boneless wings, and 5 breadsticks. Enough to feed 8 hungry fans. Pizza, wings, breadsticks, and more. It's the ultimate lineup to fuel your game day. Check out the full menu online at pizzahut.com or in store. Because remember, no one out-pizzas the Hut.
You expect your home to protect everything you love, but you don't expect the ways water is breaking down your basement and damaging your home. Mold, cracks, and of course visible water are just a few signs your basement is compromised. But there's one way to get answers to all your concerns. A free home inspection from Groundworks. We put water back in its place. Get your free inspection at groundworks.com. License number C142293.
Good evening, I'm Camden Cohn, and our Sports Ticker is brought to you by the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services. Earlier today, the Nebraska women's tennis team fell to 25th-ranked Baylor 5-2. The Huskers fell to 4-1 on the season and will stay in Waco to take on the Denver Pioneers tomorrow. In other Husker news, Nebraska's softball season tickets are now on sale. A season ticket includes admission to all regular season home games on 16 days. General admission, that includes bleacher seating, the berm, and standing room only tickets, are $80, and youth or senior general admission tickets are $48. For more information, visit Huskers.com. A couple of NBA scores of note. The Clippers lead the Hornets 49-46 with about 24 seconds left before the half. The Mavericks trail the Pistons 62-58 at the half. The 76ers lead the Nuggets 25-24 with 2 minutes left in the first quarter. And the Bulls lead Toronto 30-27 at the end of the first there. Later today, the Celtics play the Pelicans, the Bucks play the Spurs, and Golden State hosts the Suns. And finally, just one men's basketball game of note tonight in the Big Ten, as 10th-ranked Purdue hosts Indiana for an in-state battle. Tip-off is in a few minutes and can be watched on Fox. Our sports ticker is brought to you by the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services. Call a timeout if you or someone you know is struggling or in crisis. The 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is there. Call, text, or chat 988. It's free, confidential, and staffed with trained counselors ready to listen and provide support. Hour 2 of Sports Nightly is up next, right here on the Huskers Radio Network.
Coming to you live from Memorial Stadium, it's Sports Nightly. All the Huskers, all the time. Sports Nightly is presented to you by the NDOT Highway Safety Office, who remind you to buckle up and put the phone down.
Andrew playing like a man possessed here, going over 1,000 in his career early on in this game, and the give is to him, and the dunk. And Nebraska's tied the game at 24, and Morgan's got a dozen. A minute 53 to go. Williams on the elbow. Buchton left side. Eulis extra pass. Hoiberg puts it up. Got it! Sammy, my boy! Sammy, my boy, cuts this lead down to 2 points.
Rimdahl, couple of ball fakes, bounces into Prince at half court. And Prince is going to make a run on a falter. Steps back for 3 to tie the game. You betcha! Biggest shot of that freshman's young career. Timeout. We're tied at 75. Britt Prince is 19. She steps back and sticks a three-pointer, her 5th of the night. Hey, going to drive into the lane, stops, pops, 9-footer, front rim, gets her own rebound, backs it out. Prince, right elbow, pull-up jumper, rolls, no. Markowski fights for it, gets it out to Petrie. 3-ball on the left wing, you betcha! 4 chances at the basket, and Petrie knocks down a Central Valley 8.
Now that's old school Husker outwork you basketball.
Now, here is your host, Jessica Coody, on the Huskers Radio Network.
Welcome back. Hour number 2 of Sports Nightly. I'm Jessica Coody, and so very delighted to be joined by our fearless leader, Greg Sharpe, here on this Friday evening. Hey, you had to come back for a party show. You couldn't stay away from a Friday night party show.
Oh, is there any doubt? I mean, that's what this is all about, these Friday night shows. And so, yeah, great to be with you. You've had to carry a little bit of a burden this week. I'm just glad you had some stuff to talk about. I mean, there really wasn't a day where you're like, what are we going to run into tonight? There's been so much, Jess, that has happened in the last 5-7 days.
Yeah, what a week for Husker athletics. Where to even start? But you heard the news of Coach Cook. What'd you think? And then, man, what a way that they were able to transition right away and announce Danny as taken over as the next head coach.
Well, we knew the time was coming. We kind of debated, okay, if he wins the title here, does he walk out there? I think it's kind of cool that he's leaving not coming off of a championship, that he's leaving. And I think deep down, and he's right, the program is in a good spot. And so if you leave a program maybe as good or better than what you inherited, you've done your job. And John has just been, he's kind of one of the faces of the sport across the country, not just here in Nebraska. And so delighted for him, a little bit surprised, I'll be honest with you, that they acted this quickly to get Danny on board. I think we all thought that might be the direction. But boy, they didn't waste any time at all. Troy Dannon immediately jumped on that, got that thing done. Danny's going to be phenomenal here. She's grew up just south of Lincoln, obviously a national champion in her playing days, national champion in her assistant coach days. I have not heard one complaint from any Husker fan that Danny is now the new head coach. So huge gratitude all around for John Cook. What a job. 4 national titles in Nebraska. And now the next generation of Huskers are going to play for Danny Busboom-Kelly. That's fantastic.
Yeah, and, you look at it, too. I think her being a former Husker and him handing it over the way that he did, I got to imagine, even though he's been thinking about it and came to the decision recently, but how it all went about and the fact that he was able to meet with the team before they found out, and then he had talked about they wanted to have a team-only meeting and that they wanted to be there for Danny. It's got to carry a lot of weight for these players in this locker room in this day and age that the guy that they came to play for is handing it over to someone that he trusts, that he wants it to be handed over to.
Absolutely. And, this is, and you step back and look at it, that was a big senior class, right, that played their final match at the Devaney Center. So in a lot of ways, next year it'll be half new, half players that have been here. That's a pretty good time to split. It's not like you're bringing back only 2 starters, 1 starter, maybe a setter thrown in there. This is going to be a different team, and so why not? Why not give it to Danny right now? She certainly has earned her stripes with what she's done at Louisville. And I heard John say this at his press conference. That's not easy to do when you know that the Final Four is in your town and everybody's expecting you to get there. To get there was a huge uphill climb for them, and they did it. And she's going to be faced with that here as well because Omaha is kind of in the rotation to host those national titles every few years. So she'll have the same pressure here that she did there. But I think she's a tremendous coach. She's a good person. And Husker Nation, I love the story he told Jess about he was out in, was it Ord or Ogallala somewhere, and some older guy walked by him and says, it's going to be the gal from Louisville.
Yeah.
He's like, well, how did he know that? So, yeah, that was one of those signs.
One of those aha moments. And I think what Danny Busboom-Kelly has done in her own coaching career, and he had told her you need to go away before you come back, and she certainly built that program, and I don't think she's going to have any problem, as we've seen, recruiting and bringing in and then coaching to the highest level, that's some of the top talent in the country. But we got a lot of questions asking about, are people going to leave now? And to me, I think you hit a home run higher that a lot of these players, most of them, know Danny Busboom-Kelly would want to play for her. But at this point, it's almost like the program is in such a good place. And when you look at across college volleyball, where else could you go that you can get all the things that come along with being a Husker volleyball player outside of even just who's coaching you? You talk about the NIL opportunities, the fan base, just all the things. You are at the premier program that I don't know if a lot of players would even be looking to find grass greener on the other side, just because I think a lot of them just appreciate what's in place here and understand just the magnitude of what it means to play Husker volleyball, and that it's bigger than any one player, one coach.
How could you even dispute that? And my guess is that quite a few of the players that are Huskers were probably recruited by Danny at Louisville. Yeah. So I'm sure there's not just walking in the door and meeting somebody for the first time. Maybe there may be a player or two that she didn't, that Nebraska had. But my guess is because Nebraska, they recruit at that high tier, and Louisville does too. And so you're recruiting the same athletes, the same 15, 20 athletes you're going after. So I think it's great. You got a setter back in Bergen Riley. You got Andy Jackson back. You go on and on. This program is set up to move forward, and we have Coach Cook to thank for that.
Yeah, which I think, again, speaks volumes of Coach Cook that he's leaving it with the kind of talent roster in that locker room. A lot of coaches might say, I want to come back for one more, but I agree with you wholeheartedly that it almost makes it even more special that he decided to leave it the way that it is and in the state that it is to someone like Danny Busboom-Kelly. Well, how about back in the win column? Just a huge relief for Husker men's basketball. Yeah. But Coach Haarberg was saying, we're glad to get back in the win column, but we got to get on to the next. We got a lot more work to do.
There is. Man, you had to stop that thing, right? You had to cut it off at 6 and move on. I thought they played really well last night. Bryce was kind of Bryce again after a couple of games where he didn't look quite right. They've had to tweak their rotations a little bit in the last month. Some things that were working in December weren't working here in January. Good staffs adapt, and I think they have. Getting the Andrew Morgan in the lineup, I think, was a perfect move for this. You got to try to figure out something at that point guard spot. Raleigh's really struggling with the confidence to step up and hit that deep jumper. In fact, teams are backing off of him, begging him to go shoot a jump shot. So they've got to kind of figure that out a little bit. But here they go. Oregon, ranked team, coming up on Sunday. Then Washington, who has struggled. So there'll be an opportunity. And even when I say Oregon's a ranked team, Nebraska's certainly capable of beating them. And they've beaten several ranked teams already. I was texting with you earlier today. The resume doesn't look bad. You've got wins over Creighton, Indiana, UCLA, and now Illinois. So you've got a pretty nice resume that you've got built for this team, and still plenty of time to add to it here in February.
Yeah, and I mean, I know that, look, you don't ever want to lose 6 in a row. It was a tough stretch, but that's what I was saying about the Mellon the season crowd. Hey, pump the brakes. There's still a lot more basketball to be played. Yes, do they have a lot of work to do? Absolutely. But the season is not over. There's still a lot of opportunities. And with the Big Ten, teams are going to beat up on each other. And some of the tougher, I guess, matchups that the Huskers have left outside of this one, maybe on Sunday, you get Michigan at home, you get Maryland back at home. So you get some of those games that you got to go to Ohio State, to Northwestern. But, you have some games that some of those maybe top tier, the tougher in terms of the metrics teams are going to be home. Right, so
quad ones, right? Quad ones.
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunity left, and they like you said, they've already got a solid resume. So don't give up on this team just yet, right?
They don't have what you would say bad loss, really. I mean, Rutgers is not a horrible. Yeah, it was at home, so that hurts. But they're a top 100 in the net, and the Ken Palms, all those things. So they don't have a loss where you're going, man, that is an anchor on this program. So when you keep those away and keep stockpiling top 25 type wins, you may end up liking a lot what you get in March when the pairings come out. So this team, I love watching this team play even through the struggles of the last 6 games. Connor is so fun to see him step up and teammates find him in open spots where he can shoot the three. There's just a lot still to like about this team. And as you mentioned, a long way to go in this thing.
All right, let's talk women's hoops because I do not want to not give Amy Williams and women's basketball their due because they got another big win on the road too. I know Purdue is winless, but that's a tough team, and Amy knew it would be a tough one going into that one. Purdue's going to find the win column soon in the Big Ten, but you've been here longer than me and throughout Amy's tenure, but I know there's still a ways to go with this group too, but I just cannot say enough about the job she's done with this group, with all the adversity that they've been dealt, that they just keep finding ways to win these games and stacking up the wins.
Sign of a good program, right? Fill the hole. Next person up, get after it and go. How is Purdue winless? I texted Matt Coatney that yesterday. I was looking through the game notes and I go, they haven't won a league game because Purdue traditionally would be an upper half team in the Big Ten Conference. He said, oh yeah, they got all kinds of issues and didn't do well in the offseason adding talent. That coach is on a short leash. But back to Amy, you lose 2 of your top 7-8 players, and some teams would crumble. They have not. They've stepped up to the challenge and playing good, solid basketball. And I get the sense they really like playing with each other.
Yeah.
That comes across a lot in body language, whether you feel like a team is together or not. And with her team, there's no doubt. They all are paddling in the same direction. And you and I talked about this last week, that Britt Prince is establishing herself as a terrific Big Ten basketball player. I don't consider her anymore a freshman. She's not playing that way at all. And so you got her on the outside, Markowski on the inside. And I think Petrie's played pretty well for this team. You can go down the line. You get a lot of contributing moments from a bunch of players on that team.
Yeah, and they're, I know she's not playing like it, but they're a young team too, outside of Markowski and Callan Haig. But they've got some young players that they're also kind of working into this Big Ten play for the first time too. Well, we mentioned it's been quite a week. I cannot let you get out of here without asking you, how about the Greg Sharpe radio booth? You were shocked, huh?
My goodness, I had gone to coffee. Matt Davison kept going, let's do coffee this week. And so I'm like, all right. So we met at one of the coffee shops in town and had a cup of coffee. And I'm like, all right, this is let's be done. He goes, hey, let's go to the stadium and take a quick picture. I'm thinking, what? Well, whatever. Okay, let's go. And so we go over there, and then we were supposed to go in a certain gate. And he goes, oh, that's not where I'm supposed to go. And I'm like, whoa, something's up here. This doesn't sound right right now. So then I turn the corner, walk into the lobby, in the West Stadium, and there's that championship belt that they've been giving out to the Husker Employee of the Month, and I thought that is so cool. That's a great gesture. Troy Dannon and I didn't know each other 12 months ago, Jess, and I mean, he has just been a good friend throughout this whole process. So I'm thinking that's really nice. He goes, well, let's go up to the booth and take some pictures up there. I still didn't think why we were going to the sixth floor. I'm like, oh, okay, we'll take the belt up and take some shots. There's more room and space to take it up there. So, and then I turned that corner. My goodness, I'm blown away. I'm still in shock. It's an incredible honor. While we're standing up there, I'm thinking to myself, somebody could punch that elevator button and come off the elevator and go, oh, hold on, Greg Sharpe. I'm going to give you $1 million, or you get to keep that sign over the booth. It wouldn't have been a hesitation. Keep that sign. That is unbelievable. I am touched beyond words, and I'm not sure I'm deserving of it, but my goodness, what a gesture by the university. Troy, Brandon Meyer, I know, had a big hand in this whole thing. I'm sure Jason Rathie, our boss at Playfly, did as well. So I'm humbled. I'm honored by it, and I love this university. I want us to keep winning at every sport, and that's why this show is good for me, and I think you feel the same way. We get to talk about all the different sports that we have here in Nebraska, and we celebrate all their wins, and that's a cool thing.
I do have to disagree with you. There is nobody more deserving than your name to be up there on that booth. So I am so excited. I was so excited when I had heard about it, but they also put up a call, the legendary call from the Northwestern win, and you and Matt Davison had some fun reminiscing that moment. What do you remember about that call?
Well, it's down toward our booth sits closer to the south end zone than the north, so the pass was coming to the south. I had a perfect view of it from our booth, and when it was getting close to the goal line, you go, well, this is going to get caught or tipped around by a couple of guys. We have a chance here. And Westerkamp had such great hands that if it was close to him, he was going to pull it in. And it just set up perfectly. I had all the particulars. I knew Jordan was down there. I knew some other guys were down there. And so to be able to, those big calls don't come along that often. And sometimes you better not stumble on somebody's name or whatever or ruin the call. That one was pretty cool. And I did see that Jordan got on social media and posted some comments about that quote being on the wall. Jordan's a terrific guy, and I hope to see him again someday. But that would be one of my all-time favorite Husker calls, was that when it won a game. Not many times do you get a Hail Mary pass to win a game. That one did, and that was a special moment.
You were joking, though. You said that Davison sounded like a little girl. And you could just tell that just how much you guys both in that call enjoyed calling games together, but also really, really were fans of the Huskers and wanted to see them win those games.
His voice went to octaves I didn't know existed. I mean, I couldn't believe it. Sean McDonough, who's been great friends with Matt, and I've become friends with Sean, was on. We saw him the next week at a game, and he's like, Greg, when did you get like a high school girl to come in and call games with you? So he was ribbing Matt pretty hard on that as well. And I think Josh was probably on the board for that game back inside the studio. And that was one of those games you're like, well, this is Northwestern, and you and I have talked about this a lot since you came on board. They've kind of been a pill on our side. I mean, you think you should beat those guys every week, and yet they find a way to win. So you kind of turn the tables on them and pull that one out. It was mighty, mighty sweet.
Well, I guess last thing, people have been asking how you been. How you doing?
Yeah, every day is a day that I'm grateful for. I've kind of changed tracks a little bit here, and that's why I've not been with you on a nightly basis. Just trying to stay comfortable, trying to keep pain at a distance. My body's going through some things with pain. And, I think Jess and Jason Rathie, our boss at Playfly, told me this. He goes, Greg, spend as much time with your family as you can. So that made sense to me. I hope you'll let me come on from time to time and talk about the weeks and all the doings that are going on. There's a lot of fun stuff to talk about, so I'm hanging in there. I'm doing pretty well. But yeah, take it one day at a time. I've got a big wedding coming up with my daughter here in a couple of weeks, and that's kind of my next milestone. That's my new August 31st is my daughter's wedding coming up here in a couple of weeks.
Well, you come on anytime, obviously. We want to have you anytime, all the time, whatever you can do. We just love having you when you can. So met your daughters, too. You got a great family, too. So they were surprised. Your wife had said they couldn't tell the daughters because they might spoil the surprise for you.
That was neat, too, that I have two of my three daughters there. The other one lives in Florida, and I think they FaceTimed her and got her so she could see the wall. But, yeah, I half expect if I walked up there right now, it wouldn't be there. I still cannot believe that is on the wall there in my honor, and I'm just beyond blessed. And so thank you, Husker Nation. Thank you, Troy Dannon, Athletic Department. That means an awful lot to me.
Well, thanks for being here with us on this Friday party show.
You bet. Woo-hoo.
Have a good weekend. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks.
Greg Sharpe joining us here on Sports Nightly. Woodhouse has been a trusted partner in your everyday since 1975. Shop for your next vehicle with the home team at Woodhouse and the official auto dealer of Nebraska Athletics.
For 48 straight years, Ford F-Series have been the best-selling trucks in America. We got here by engineering breakthrough technology, redefining Built Ford Tough, and never settling for second best. But what's really made Ford F-Series the #1 selling trucks in America is you. Ford F-Series, Built Ford Tough. Based on 1977 to 2024 calendar year total sales.
When you're in the stands and have the ability to control your irrigation in the field, it's a game-changing moment. Valley is where farming meets end zone efficiency. With AgSense remote irrigation technology, farmers become the MVPs of their fields. Experience real-time, play-by-play action and control that keeps you ahead. Score big with irrigation technology from Valley. It's technology that improves your life and lets you be at the game and in the game. Find your local Valley dealer at valleyirrigation.com.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
Nebraskans are choosing chiropractic for better health. Why chiropractic? Because it's safe, drug-free, and a cost-effective treatment option for back and joint pain. Plus, all generations can benefit from natural chiropractic care. Choose chiropractic first for pain relief or to improve your mobility, athletic performance, or overall wellness. Make chiropractic your first choice for better health and find a chiropractic physician near you at nebraska-chiropractic.org. Get your life back with chiropractic.
Hey Huskers, it's a new day in Nebraska. Manzer Equipment, Mertz Farm Equipment, and West Point Implement of Columbus have teamed up as True Ag and Turf. Coach Rule is bringing innovation and high-performance standards to Husker football, and True Ag is doing the same to your farm with game-changing Fendt equipment. As Big Red establishes power on the field, True Ag and Turf does the same in the field by welcoming Fendt to Nebraska.
You expect your home to protect everything you love, but you don't expect that water is the reason parts of your concrete have gotten so uneven. Walkway tripping hazards, sinking pool deck, cracked driveways are dangerous threats to everyone's safety. But there's one way to learn how your concrete can be lifted. A free home inspection from Groundworks. We put water back in its place. Get your free inspection at groundworks.com. License number C142293.
Want to boost Nebraska's economy and help the planet? It's as easy as filling up your tank. Switch to soy-based biodiesel to cut greenhouse gases by up to 74% and support biodiesel growth.
I'm Greg Anderson, a farmer near Newman Grove, Nebraska, and biodiesel has transformed our farm. It cuts emissions, raises the cetane number, and improves fuel lubricity.
So ask for biodiesel where you fill up. It benefits our air, economy, and Nebraska soybean farmers. Nebraska soybeans, feeding, fueling, and innovating for the future.
On game day, every play counts. Now imagine having the same level of control in your field. Valley is where farming meets end zone efficiency. With AgSense remote irrigation technology, farmers become the MVPs of their fields. Real-time, play-by-play control means you're always ahead of the game. Score big with simplified irrigation technology from Valley, improving your life both on and off the field. Find your local Valley dealer at valleyirrigation.com.
In the heartland, where ambition thrives, there are those who are made and those who are made for more. Just like the Huskers on game day, Kloss, a leading producer of ag equipment, unleashes the power of ambition in the field. Discover why our cutting-edge machinery and unwavering support aren't just a promise, they're a commitment to your success. Because at Kloss, we know you are made for more. Visit your Kloss dealer or CLAAS.com.
The Huskers Radio Network Broadcast Center is sponsored by Akrs, the Midwest premier John Deere dealer, supplying the equipment and service to advance agriculture and much more. Akrs, solutions for every field. 1 week from tonight, Husker softball will be in action in their season opening weekend in Clearwater, Florida. 2 weeks from tonight, Husker baseball will be opening up their season. So we thought you'd get you set for both opening weekends with some position previews. And we'll start with Husker softball and Nate Rohr, who will once again be back calling the action for us. Let's start in the circle. It's where you got to start, right? And Jordy Ball coming off the injury. I know it all starts with her, the preseason All-American, also on the Player of the Year watch list going into the season. How is she doing coming off the injury that happened last year in the season opener in that opening weekend? How is she progressing? How ready is she for this year?
I think she'll be back to very close to, if not 100% all the way. I mean, even when we saw her this fall, it was a matter of stamina, not execution. She would be very, very good for 3 to 4 innings and then seemingly tail off. And I think that's a pretty natural byproduct of not being able to pitch. So I expect Jordy Ball to be right back where she was. I think fully recovered. She'll obviously be very hungry, not that she needs anything else to fuel her competitively. But, I mean, here's one of the most dominant pitchers in college softball the 2 years prior to last year. And when you have that sort of ace, when you have that sort of elite player, it's a heck of a thing to build around, and I know Rhonda Revelle and the staff is excited to build around it.
Well, tell us about those newcomers and what are they bringing to this staff?
Well, Kylie McGee transfers from Arizona State, and she was battling a wrist injury last year, had surgery for it, and that surgery kept her out of fall ball. But she comes out of the big Corona Angels Club program that has been so good to Nebraska softball over the years, and really one of the main fountains of talent in all of college softball. And it's McGee that has the highest career winning percentage all time out of a program that has produced multiple All-American pitchers. So I think this Husker coaching staff is excited to get their hands on Kylie McGee and get her out there for a full season. The Arizona State program's gone through some rough times, but they feel like McGee can really develop and really come on, very spinny, a lot of curveballs, a lot of screwballs. So somebody who can be very tough to get good contact on. So I think she'll factor pretty prominently as the number 2 or number 3 pitcher. And then, of course, they add the Omaha native, Hannah Kamenzend, a left-hander, and she's somebody who's just working down in the zone, drop balls, change-ups. Pitched for Arkansas last year, 9-1 record, 3.07 ERA, so she was effective in the Southeastern Conference. And you think of Jordy Ball, her rise ball is so powerful, and she's such a prototypical power pitcher working up in the zone. And Kamenzend, not just the fact that she's a lefty, but that she's working low in the zone, that can be a really nice contrast for Nebraska and a really tough contrast for hitters to adjust to.
I was going to say, how do you like just the differences in the pitchers and the I guess the different looks that they're going to be able to throw at lineups night in and night out?
Well, I think it's very valuable. And in this day and age of college softball, you need probably 3 viable options that you feel like you can send out to the circle any night and win. And that's no knock on Jordy Ball. That's no knock on McGee or Kamenzend. But you do need to have different matchups and the ability to go more fly ball heavy against a team that's successful hitting up the ball on the ground or vice versa. So it's important. It's much more important than it used to be to have great pitching depth. And, the one pitcher that we're kind of losing in the shuffle here, but when I chat with the Husker coaching staff, Rhonda Revelle, she mentions that Emerson Cope's really come along. as a pitcher, and she's somebody that I don't think the staff wanted to pitch a whole lot last year, had to because of all the injury problems. They say Cope has really developed, especially in her spin. So you feel like Cope will be more of a weapon for this pitching staff this year too, although I think she's a cut behind the Ball, Cammons, and McGee group.
So this is just a kind of a different feeling for this staff. They've got a little bit more depth in the circle this year than they have maybe in the previous few years.
I'm not so sure that this isn't the most depth Nebraska has ever had.
Wow.
On the pitching staff, because you've just got different repertoires, you've got different strengths, and yeah, Jordy Ball's going to be the bell cow. I think we all are operating under that assumption. She's a 2-time All-American. Her credentials are impeccable, but the feeling that once you get beyond that, you know, a game 2 in a weekend, a game 3 in a weekend, you have a couple of options, a couple of different places you can go, especially as advanced as hitters are this day and age. It's a real change, and you feel good about where Nebraska's pitching staff is going.
All right, quick break for us, but up next, let's talk some Husker baseball and a pitching preview with Nick Hanley. Keep it here on Sports Nightly.
Here in Nebraska, we love our teachers. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Nebraska is teaming up with Husker Athletics to recognize teachers who help students live their best and healthiest lives. Visit huskers.com/touchdown for teachers today to tell us about your favorite Nebraska educator. Winning teachers get a school day visit from Herbie Husker and a VIP experience at the 2025 Husker football spring game, thanks to their biggest fans at Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Nebraska. Head to huskers.com/touchdown for teachers today.
What does it mean to be locally owned and operated? For Cenex, it means everything. It means that we know if you take your coffee to go or if you like to stay a while. It means we've helped Little Leagues get jerseys and local festivals get funding. It means we know what our communities need. So you'll always leave Cenex with a full tank, full of snacks, or full of smiles. Or all of the above. And that means the world to us. Cenex, powered locally.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
Dear Truckin' Awesome. Want more horsepower in the stable? The Tundra iForce Max is the most powerful Tundra ever. With its electrifying twin-turbo V6, you got everything you need. Saddle up the Tacoma TRD Pro. Its segment-first performance seats are designed to smooth out the shocks when the ride gets bumpy. The Toyota 4Runner is part mean streak, part wild side, and an all-around icon. Check out that signature power rear window, will ya? Yes, sir, Toyota trucks. Find yours at toyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
See your Omaha Metro and Lincoln Toyota dealers. Corwin Toyota of Bellevue, Village Point Toyota of Omaha, Baxter Toyota of La Vista, or Baxter Toyota of Lincoln.
Hello, Husker Nation. This is Lex Rodriguez, All-American Libero, serving you an ace on behalf of Noddle Companies based in Omaha, Nebraska. Noddle Companies is a full-service leader in commercial real estate, digging deep to create thriving communities like the Builders District, Exarban Village, and the contemporary row house townhomes. They bring world-class concepts in fashion, great eats, gorgeous homes, and green spaces, all professionally managed by Noddle Services. To dig up more information, find them on Facebook and Instagram. Noddle Companies, building a better Nebraska.
They say consistency is the key to success. They weren't wrong. So how about grabbing a beer that's consistently smooth, consistently refreshing, and consistently light? You might just find that the road to success can be pretty enjoyable. Michelob Ultra, the perfect balance of taste and refreshment, and only 2.6 carbs and 95 calories. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
In the heartland, where ambition thrives, there are those who are made and those who are made for more. Just like the Huskers on game day, Kloss, a leading producer of ag equipment, unleashes the power of ambition in the field. Discover why our cutting-edge machinery and unwavering support aren't just a promise, they're a commitment to your success. Because at Kloss, we know you are made for more. Visit your Kloss dealer or CLAAS.com.
Nebraskans are choosing chiropractic for better health. Why chiropractic? Because it's safe, drug-free, and a cost-effective treatment option for back and joint pain. Plus, all generations can benefit from natural chiropractic care. Choose chiropractic first for pain relief or to improve your mobility, athletic performance, or overall wellness. Make chiropractic your first choice for better health and find a chiropractic physician near you at nebraska-chiropractic.org. Get your life back with chiropractic.
The Huskers Radio Network Broadcast Center is sponsored by Akrs, the Midwest premier John Deere dealer, supplying the equipment and service to advance agriculture and much more. Akrs, solutions for every field. All right, let's talk Husker baseball's pitching staff now. Welcome back Nick Hanley, who will be one of the guys calling the action for us this spring. Nick, a lot of familiar names when you look at this roster and in particular this pitching staff. You do lose your Friday night guy in Brett Sears, but Nick, this is a big storyline for you going into the start of this year is who might move into that Friday night starters role.
Yeah, Jessica, and I think honestly when you look at what Nebraska, we've talked a lot about those external expectations, not just internal expectations for this team and what they could potentially be in 2025. And a lot of eyes are on this team of doing some big things. I would say if there's one area that you're looking at that says this is the area that puts them closest to those expectations or why people have those expectations both on the outside and inside, I think it is the pitching staff. You mentioned Sears. That's a huge loss, but we've talked a few times about preseason All-American Mason McConaughey. Outstanding. We'll get to some of his numbers and his impact on what it could be in 2025. But you're talking about returning 46 starts on this season from a year ago. So having 46 starts returning on the bump from 2024 is a big deal. Not a lot of teams will have that luxury. If you look at those starts, the bulk of those starts are guys like Mason McConaughey. He had 11. Drew Christo had 10. Will Walsh had 10. Jackson Brockett had 7. All of those guys will factor into a significant role, whether it be as a weekend starter, a midweek starter, or in high leverage situations. But also, this is the one area that I've seen improve, and it shouldn't surprise anybody when we think of this particular area with this pitching staff that really has improved because of Rob Childers and his teaching of the staff, but that strikeout to walk ratio. Anybody's going to tell you if you're going to be a successful program, if you want to get to the level that Nebraska wants to get back to, and meaning getting to hosting a potential regional, you've got to be very solid on the mound when it does come to the strikeout to walk ratio. Nebraska in that category alone was 7th. They were great last year, and then as far as the overall walk rate, they were second in the league, second in the nation. Beg your pardon, not in the league, but second in the nation, and led the Big Ten. So these are traits and hallmarks of a Rob Childers team. This was the one thing that, talking to Rob when he took over the pitching staff full time, he mentioned several times, and it's one of those phrases that I know he works with a lot with the guys, and that's just mastering the vanilla, being able to do the simple things, making sure that it's just second nature, that you are hitting your spots, you're throwing strikes, you're getting count leverage, you're able to work those 1-2 counts, 0-2 counts, and you're not putting the advantage in the batter's box of power counts of 2-0 and 3-1. So that's one of the biggest improvements that the staff collectively has made under Rob Childers. And you have a lot of those guys in what was a top 10 strikeout to walk ratio team. 46 starts. That's why I go back to that. The 46 starts coming back is huge, especially from that standpoint. So now we look at the starters, and obviously Mason McConaughey is going to factor in. The only question that I have right now with Mason McConaughey is, will he be the lock-solid Friday guy? Or think about their schedule early on, Jessica. They've got 2 SEC powerhouses right out of the gate on game 2 of these MTEs or these weekend tournaments. It wouldn't shock me, though, if he starts out the first couple of weekends maybe being that game 2 guy given the competition. So who are we looking at as far as potentials that could be a game 1 guy, or who would be right next to Mason McConaughey? This is a name that I think people need to really pay attention to because he's still a little bit of an unknown quality, whatever you want to call him. But Ty Horn, righty, he's only had 4 starts. He was a 5.91 earned run average guy last year. But this was a guy, and you're going to hear as I talk about some of these different positions and players to watch out for, he had an extremely successful summer. up in the Northwoods League. He's a guy that is ramping up the velocity. He's got the body type as well. The thing that I think a lot of people like about Ty Horn is, and I know this is something that Rob Childers really likes about him too. You're talking about a 6'2", 200-pound guy who's got a little bit of that length. His arm, he's got that real smooth delivery. He's someone that can really fire it in there. And the velocity, as he's gone from his freshman to sophomore year, has seen an uptick. He's got that type of stuff that has potential to be a weekend starter. And dare I say, could potentially even be a Friday guy if it's all been developing well from fall into spring. And everything we've heard from Ty Horn during the fall has been very, very good. Then there's Jackson Brockett. Jackson Brockett, of course, I don't need to explain much more about him. He had the no-hitter against K-State. He was so good, especially towards the end of the year. I think Rob Childers has done a great job with him, and Jackson Brockett is definitely, I think, in the mix for the weekend rotation. And then you look at another lefty, and Will Walsh. Will Walsh is I feel like we're saying this every year. Will Walsh is strictly a pitcher now. He was a utility guy. He was playing first base. He's a big dude, so obviously you don't mind having the bat in his hand, but he is strictly a pitcher, and his velocity has seen the benefit of that. He's also improved. Anytime that you can put a nice mix of righties and lefties, and as I mentioned, Ty Horn, Mason McConaughey righties, Jackson Brockett, and Will Walsh would be lefties, that is a good situation to be in. So Will Walsh is another guy that has a lot of experience, a lot of college baseball innings, and they've been in a lot of different areas too. A lot of people remember the shutout that he had, the complete game shutout he had in the Big Ten tournament in 2023 against Michigan State. Will Walsh has that potential and comes in with a respectable 506 earned run average, 43 strikeouts to just 10 walks. So those things about those four guys, I would anticipate you have to start with being in the mix for those weekend rotations, and especially that first weekend in Arizona where you do play 3 games in the tournament, but since you're in Arizona, you're just going to stop by Grand Canyon on Monday and play them. So you're getting 4 games right out of the gate. I would think that all 4 of those guys are probably seeing the bump as a starter in some rotation there. There are 2 guys I think you have to keep in mind. It's going to be really fascinating to see because I think they're so adaptable on the roles that they can be in from starters all the way to the back end of the bullpen. And that is Jalen Worthley, who, by the way, not only did summer ball do him well, but his summer workouts did him well. He looks like a different guy. Not that he was a small guy to begin with, but he's put on some good muscle. But there's a guy that can be a starter. There's a guy that could be long relief, high leverage. You could even use him in closing situations if you needed to. But he comes in from last year with a 3.60 earned run average, 22 appearances. He had 33 strikeouts to just 8 walks, also 5 saves. So he's a guy that if you have to hand the ball off to, say, on a Wednesday because the bullpen's taxed a little bit or your rotation's taxed, or dare I say, because this is just something you always have to deal with. You hope not a lot, but if there is an injury to the rotation, Jalen Worthley is one of those guys that you could really see step up and wear a bunch of different hats when it comes to his role on the staff. And then another guy, and I don't think it's any mystery or any surprise about who I'm about to say, is Drew Christo, the Elkhorn native, who I think he's found the role that's ideal for him. Yeah. And I still think that is the long relief, high leverage role. That's the one, if your starter is not giving you the quality start or not getting past the 4th inning, you can turn it over to Drew Christo and he can really save your bullpen. The thing that, and this is where I go back to Rob Childers and what he has emphasized with the staff, and that is the strikeout to walk ratio. They have gotten Drew Christo's walk numbers down. And the number from last year, in 60 1/3 innings, Drew Christo was 54 strikeouts to 20 walks. And you might be thinking, hey, 20 walks, that's still a little bit high. But that ratio is still a lot better of what it was before with Drew Christo. They found that control. I think he is very comfortable in that role. So 2 guys in particular with Jalen Worthley, Drew Christo. And then I would also say another guy, given his body type, and he had limited appearances last year, but another guy that could maybe give you a midweek start, could maybe give you some long relief as well, as Tucker Timmerman. He's a guy who went 16 2/3 last year, 18 strikeouts, 14 walks. That number needs to come down, obviously, but another long, rangy guy, smooth deliveries, got a powerful arm at 6'3", 220. Those are 3 guys right there that I think could either be midweek guys, long relief guys, or just maybe a little bit of everything that you're going to see when needed.
All right, let's dive into the bullpen a little bit more. Who else will be, coming in to provide relief and potentially even closing games as well?
Well, the one guy that I'm really excited to see, because if you paid attention to Metro baseball at the high school level, as a lot of baseball fans here have, you're going to know the name Luke Broderick. He's a righty, comes from Iowa Western Community College. He pitched at Elkhorn Mount Michael. And this is only one of 24 players that was selected to the USA NJCAA All-Star team. He helped Team USA to a championship appearance. He's another guy that he has that type of stuff that you think, boy, this could be really electric out of the bullpen to shut a game down. Could he be the closer? Because this is another guy that had very good numbers at Iowa Western, which is an extremely solid baseball program, as a lot of everyone knows. So if I'm looking at a guy who's going 69 strikeouts and 56 and a third innings in his 2-year stint with Iowa Western, he has the stuff, the power arm. He's got great movement. He's a guy that you could potentially see as their closer, at least to start the season off. Other guy that I would also look at is Casey Dice. Casey Dice came into last year as a guy they wanted to start as the closer. They wanted to put him in that closing role. And this is where it wasn't necessarily an avalanche of walks, but he would lose control of the zone just in some inopportune moments. And especially as a closer, you just cannot give any more wiggle room. So Casey Dice, I'm looking to see how he responds from what was a little bit more of an up and down season last year. Casey Dice is another guy that I think is used to living that life out of the bullpen, whether it be as a middle relief type of guy or potentially a closer, depending on who they want to ultimately go with. And then another guy that I'm really curious to see what his role is going to be. If we're talking about just freshmen and guys that come in with a lot of ink and a lot of potential, is going to be one of the top pitchers from the state of Texas in this recruiting class, and that's Blake Encarnacion. Big guy. He's had a tremendous prep career. Guy that this is what the other thing I like. He's a winner. I mean, his high school team last year was 37-1 overall, finishing fourth in the playoffs of the high school state title out there in Texas, which is extremely competitive. He had just a 1.40 earned run average, 75 strikeouts in 54 innings as a senior.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's something there. Obviously, we know college baseball is a completely different animal, but as far as potential and could he see some innings early and have some impact on this squad, I think there's definitely a possibility for that as well.
You can listen to the full pitching staff preseason breakdown as well as our catcher position previews with Nick and Nate Rohr out now on our Huskers Radio Network podcast platforms, wherever you listen. We're back to wrap up the show next.
Husker fans, let's call a timeout on the court and in life. When the game gets tough, Nebraska stands together as a family, as a team. If you or someone you know is struggling or in crisis, the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is there. Call, text, or chat 988. It's free, confidential, and staffed with trained counselors ready to listen and provide support. You're part of the Husker family, and every member is valued on and off the court. Remember, in times of need, call a timeout. Call, text, or chat 988. Presented by Nebraska DHHS.
Your Husker football team is fresh off a Pinstripe Bowl victory and are gearing up for an exciting 2025 season. Secure your seat in the Sea of Red for all 7 home games this fall by becoming a 2025 Husker football season ticket holder today. 2025 football season tickets are on sale now in select end-zone locations and start at just $420. To purchase, visit huskers.com/tickets. Go Big Red.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
What does it mean to be locally owned and operated? For Cenex, it means everything. It means that we know if you take your coffee to go or if you like to stay a while. It means we've helped Little Leagues get jerseys and local festivals get funding. It means we know what our communities need. So you'll always leave Cenex with a full tank, full of snacks, or full of smiles. Or all of the above. And that means the world to us. Cenex, powered locally.
I got to see my brother get married.
I would have missed my dad's birthday.
Because I wore my seatbelt, I had the privilege of being part of his special day.
I got to go home and see my family again.
Does it click yet?
Brought to you by NDOT Highway Safety Office.
I would have never had the chance to see my daughter become a doctor.
I was able to go to my brother's graduation.
I wouldn't have adopted my first pet.
And then it clicked. My seatbelt saved my life. Does it click yet?
Brought to you by NDOT Highway Safety Office.
Welcome back to our final segment here at Sports Nightly on this Friday night show. We wrap up the show like we always do with our winners and losers of the week. We got a full crew participating in this one here tonight. Duke, Camden, and Nick. I had to explain to him what we're doing, so I'll let him wait a second. So we'll start with you guys, the interns first. So Camden, how about you go first?
All right, I'll go first. My winner is going to be Bryce Williams. Coming off that good game against Illinois, obviously. He had 27 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 assists, and then was huge down the stretch in overtime. So I thought that he's a valuable winner for this week.
Absolutely. Like it. Loser?
Loser, I got an interesting one. It's Detroit Pistons center Isaiah Stewart. He's been suspended 1 game without pay after he picked up his 6th flagrant foul the other day. And so he's serving the suspension tonight against the Mavericks. But the Pistons had planned to honor Stewart tonight by giving away a bobblehead of him.
Oh, no.
And he can't even play. So he's my loser for that reason.
Wow, that's a good one. That's a good one. Duke, who you got?
All right, my winner is the dunk contest as a whole last night. That was really fun. I remember watching it last year. It was really fun. And they did a lot better this year. And
They were.
Heinrich Haarberg, he looked like a tight end out there. He didn't look like a quarterback, too. All right, my loser is the NBA All-Star game. We had probably the biggest snub in NBA history with LaMelo Ball not being an All-Star. He averages more points, rebounds, and assists than every single Eastern Conference All-Star reserve. He was also number 1 in fan votes, number 3 in coaches vote, and he was not an All-Star. So
wow.
Yep.
Wow, that's crazy. Good one. Good one. All right, Nick, you know what you're doing yet?
Yeah, I think I'm good. Yeah.
Okay. Let's hear it.
So my losers, and this is not typically a loser. When anybody knows that if they go to Vegas, what do they always say? The house always wins. Well, when it came to the NFL betting in the month of December, the house in Nevada actually lost for the first time since 2012. It was a net loss of $2.1 million in the month of December.
Wow.
That was the first monthly loss during the NFL regular season for the state's bookmakers in 12 years. So the house did not win. So that's a good thing. Winners, Jessica, you and I, we've got a chance to talk a lot about some great things that the athletic department has done this week. And so I'm assuming you're probably going that path too. So I'm gonna put this one out there because I think what the athletic department and mainly Troy Dannon did this week was fantastic, between a radio booth for our dear friend Greg Sharpe, and then also on the same day, the announcement not only of the retirement of John Cook, but having that succession plan. And then, as we heard from John Cook, on how smooth that was and how just the collaboration between John Cook and Troy Dannon in getting Danny Busboom was so smooth, and there's just really no hiccups along the way. That's the great part. But you know what? As we talked about earlier in the show too, let's give it up for Britt Prince. Closing time last night, winning time last night. She's my winner. This is the type of effort that you need when you're on the road against a team that is kind of grimy like Purdue is, and they're trying to find any ways to get a win, and they were taking the lead every now and then, but Britt Prince closing the game out in the fourth quarter against Nebraska. She will be my ultimate winner.
All right, great stuff. My winner, I'll just build off of what you just did with just the week for Husker Nation and the transition and all of that with John Cook to Danny Busboom Kelly. I'm going to give it up to the people that kept the secret so that it didn't leak out and so that it could go the way that it did, where both coaches got to talk to their teams and it didn't get broken on social media. So it just, just rarely happens the way that it did. So I think the people that were privy to the knowledge and did not spill the beans. And my loser is Nick Hanley, because he basically guaranteed the Bills as Super Bowl champions. So there we go. That's my winner and loser for the week. Thank you guys so much for listening and watching all week long. We'll be back on Monday for a full 2 hours. What a week, Husker Nation. Have a great weekend.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
set, hike. When champions take the field, they come ready to play. TNL Irrigation understands the value of momentum. Like a Husker drive, there's no stopping. If you live for farming and football like we do, TNL Irrigation has you covered. Check your fields from the game with a remote system, or just enjoy the play knowing our systems are reliable as a sold-out Memorial Stadium. Touchdown! Nebraska born, Nebraska strong. Husker Nation and TNL Irrigation are like no other.
I would have never had the chance to see my daughter become a doctor.
Because my mom wore her seatbelt that day, I get to hug her when I go home.
And then it clicked. Because I wore my seatbelt, I learned that one moment in time can change a person's life forever.
Brought to you by NDOT Highway Safety Office.
The day we were hit was the second to last day of our high school careers.
We were about to graduate as best friends together.
And then it clicked. Because we wore our seatbelt that day, we still get to experience life together.
Brought to you by NDOT Highway Safety Office.
Attention, Husker Nation. Are you ready to power up your game? Sap Brothers high-quality off-road red diesel is the fuel that powers your equipment. As official sponsors of the Huskers, we're here with a winning offer with the Sap Brothers Go Big Red Fuel Giveaway. Contract your upcoming fuel needs by February 1st and enter to win 1,000 free gallons of our off-road red diesel to keep your engine roaring and equipment running strong. Sap Brothers fuels Husker Nation. Visit sapbros.net/fuel giveaway for more info.
When you're in the stands and have the ability to control your irrigation in the field, it's a game-changing moment. Valley is where farming meets end zone efficiency. With AgSense remote irrigation technology, farmers become the MVPs of their fields. Experience real-time, play-by-play action and control that keeps you ahead. Score big with irrigation technology from Valley. It's technology that improves your life